Using a resistance band to train the one arm pull up can be an effective way to make progress. However, there is a wrong way to do it, and unfortunately that's the way that most people teach. You see, you can use one hand on the bar and the other hand on the band to pull, but there are two issues with this. The first is that it gives you a different amount of assistance with each rep. Because it depends on how hard you're pulling with the opposite hand, the arm that you are training is actually going to get a different amount of help with each rep. And generally in lifting, it's best to keep the load the same throughout each rep. Side note, I know that there are such things as ladder workouts, but that's not what's going on here. And the second issue is that this is not helping you work proper form for the one arm pull up. When you do the one arm pull up, you actually want to twist a little so that your opposite shoulder is coming up to the bar. And when you are using a second hand, you're actually stabilizing yourself so your entire body is pretty much facing forward the whole time. So what should you do instead? Well, there are two things that you can do. The first is grab the bar with one hand in between the loop of the band. Then whatever hand is holding the bar, put the opposite leg into the band. Now do your one arm pull-ups this way. This really mimics the one arm pull-up technique because it's already sort of facing you in that turn direction. Because your opposite leg is going into the band, you're kind of already being positioned for that opposite shoulder to be raised to the bar. And secondly, it reduces the need for another arm to be pulling. So the only arm that you're pulling with is the arm that you're working, and the only assistance that you're getting is the amount of assistance of the band. Which actually leads me to my second point. Quick interjection here. When I'm training multiple reps, I actually use two lighter bands instead of one band or one thicker band. Two lighter bands I think is less assistance than any of the thick bands, and two lighter bands, that's the only way that I can get 4 more reps, and I try and stay within the 4 or 5 rep range when I'm doing multiples. The way that I normally hook that up is that I loop the second band through the middle of the first one, and then I just place my hand in between both of them. And then my second point is to avoid bouncing. So it's really easy to get into the habit of using your momentum to start the next rep, but you're not getting the most gains out of this. You see, if you drop and time it right, you can create the spring effect that's going to make each rep easier, almost like you're using the band as a trampoline. So when you start your second or third rep, your momentum is already going up, so the pulling motion is even easier. Like I mentioned earlier, we want to keep the same load with each rep. So by using your momentum, you're actually using less load with each rep. And so what I found to do is I basically just pause at the bottom of each rep. So I essentially start from the same place and under the same conditions. And then from here, the golden rule that I follow is just 3 to 5 sets of 3 to 5 reps. So to wrap it all up, I found that pulling with your other arm doesn't set you up for the greatest gains because you end up getting a different amount of assistance in each rep. Instead, you should be putting one leg into the band, the opposite leg to the pulling arm, and pause at the bottom of each rep, really focusing on squeezing the most out of each rep. I hope this was helpful for some people on their one arm pull-up journey. This is the way that I have been using bands. Although I don't frequently use bands in my training, I have started to introduce it a little bit recently, which is why I'm making the video. But if you want to see how I normally train, you can check out this video right over here. Thanks, guys.